Thank you so much, Karthi, for coming. I don't know how many of you have seen, I'm going to mispronounce it, May. Oh my God. I think it's one of the most moving films that I've seen. And after seeing you in Katre Vele Adu, where you were such a nasty piece of, I don't know what. But it was such a lovely film. And I'm thinking, is this the same actor? And it is. So, of course, it's called acting, but still, how do you do such a terrible person in Katre Vele you do, and then such a nice, sweet, soft man in Mayagan?
Before that, very good evening. Hello, everybody.
Some loud applause. Let's give him a lot more, I think.
It'll get coming. It'll get coming. I'm sure you've had a hectic session from morning. ரொம்ப
Yes, but
சீரியஸான
I think
டாபிக்கா போயிட்டு
everyone
இருக்குன்னு
was
நினைக்கிறேன் from
waiting for
morning.
you.
Yeah. So we'll keep it light. So ma'am, thank you for watching both the films and thanks for having me here.
Watching a lot more, but
Lovely.
these two are my favorites. Yeah.
So அவங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சொன்னது காற்று வெளியிடை அப்புறம் மெய்யழகன்
Please
இந்த ரெண்டு படம்
forgive me.
and
Please forgive me my pronunciation.
I just wanted to give them a clarity what we're talking about. So let's come to Kaatru Veliyidai first, since that's the earlier film. That's a film which is completely against my grain. You know, I could never relate with the character.
Hope so.
I couldn't, like I was telling earlier, a charming, flamboyant, poetry reciting, chauvinistic pig. You know, it's not easy to do that. I couldn't relate with that character, but he had a very charming side to him, and I had to take help from Mani sir in every day. I would explore every day to understand it. First, I started with going to Kaleguda, which is an air base.
Right.
And I met some fighter pilots just to understand what lives they live. I wanted to know what was their salary, what was their training, now how difficult it is to be a fighter pilot. It requires like an IIT an engineer, like a top of the cream. No, you have to be extremely efficient. You have to prove your efficiency every 6 months. Otherwise, you'll be depromoted. So that's the high level of efficiency in which they work. And then I wanted to understand what are the different kinds of people. How are different people handling it? Now, there was one guy who never removes his aviators. He always wears his aviators. They gave the aviators in service itself. So they wear the Ray-Bans all the time. And there is the other guy who looks like like a normal office-going IT person, very quiet. But they both are damn good. So I understood that not everybody carries it the same way. Each one has their own attitude. But the more interesting guy was the guy who always wears the Ray-Ban. So I picked up some stuff from him. And then every day we would explore. Like Mani sir said, the performance in this film is not what I ask you to do. It is something which we both explore and agree with. So every day we would play with it. He'll try to push me in different directions. And that's how we gradually explored. And then we see how this guy goes through a change of heart. You know, after his being caught and how he changes gradually. And then he breaks down at the end. So that's a huge arc. And I would say this film actually gave me a lot of learning on how to create a character, how to prepare for a character, how to understand and present it. So that whole arc, I think it was a great workshop for me because I started my career as an AD with Mani sir.
Exactly.
And then I'm playing a lead. It was quite a drastic difference. But only thing is, everybody expected a Maddie from Alaipaide, but the character was not that. It was completely not that. But I had personal messages from a lot of women, even IAS officers, who said, don't take the result of this film very seriously because this is the first film which is openly spoken about a caustic relationship. Very clearly. I think only Mani sir handles relationship beautifully. So now I keep getting compliments for that film. And coming to Mayalagan, which is a complete contrast.
No, let's talk a little more about...
All right.
I will hesitate to pronounce the name of the film. Yeah. Whenever I hesitate, you just put in the name of the film.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will try to understand. No, but I wanted to understand because, the kind of psychological and also sometimes physical violence that you do to Aditi. And she's such a vision and you're doing these unspeakable things to her. When you went home, I wonder, how did you feel on that set?
No, actually, you've grown up with a sister. You've done a lot of that to your sister, So, physically pushing or scratching or hitting her, it's not something new when you have a sister at home. But that character, we were actually very carefully treading the path. That not overdoing it, but still keeping it mild. Earlier, I think at home, women were used to that. They all accepted that this is how men are. But then later, nobody wants to handle that anymore. It's also important to teach girls that this is not an okay behavior.
Exactly.
This is not something you have to put up with. So I think that film dealt with both. And uh, like you said, for me, since you know how it behaves, we have done it. But we were also very careful how much of it we are going to do. At
It
what
should
point.
not at any point look acceptable.
Yes, yes.
You see,
yes,
that's
She goes away and she leaves him. The moment he goes overboard, she leaves him. He said, I cannot handle you. You're strangling me. And she leaves. So that's also very clearly said that. And he says, give me just one more chance. I'll change for you. She says, no, I can't do it anymore. And then he comes back as a changed man. And that's when she accepts him. So it's not an okay behavior.
Yeah. Let's talk about my.
Right.
Yes, please, thank
So,
you. Yeah, because that guy is so sweet and he talks so much and he's so lovable. And this guy doesn't remember his name. He like slapping Arvind Swami. And you can't remember this guy's name.
It's a beautiful film. First, the film was written as a novel. It was not written as a screenplay. That is why many people who saw the film first, they thought it's very slow because they were expecting something to keep happening. But life is not like that. Life is not so dramatic. It takes a lot of time to reveal itself. So the film was written as a novel, and the film, as such, I feel it's captured the life of people for about 30 years. People from, let's say, from 70s to 90s, just before the social media hit all of us. This talks about the simple lives. What was our joy? What was our fears, our dreams? This film absolutely captures. They always say keep reading contemporary literature because that's where you know how people are thinking, how the generations are changing. I believe this film, the way Prem Kumar wrote it and was captured, completely, you can take a kid today who's 10 or 12 years old and say, this is how we lived. This is what we are. This is our culture. This film completely encapsulates that. But the character, Mayalagan, people say, it's too good to believe, man. Nobody is like this. Nobody can be like that. It is fake. But actually, I have seen people like that. I have seen people who are so giving. I have seen people who do so much for you without expecting anything from you. They just love you. And I'm gifted to have seen such people. That's why I was able to bring it on screen. And I would say I didn't have to prepare for this film. This is how I grew up. All my holidays were in Coimbatore in my mom's place.
In a house like this.
Yeah, in a very old house
Nice.
with all my cousins, running and catching rats and doing all sorts of stuff. I always loved that.
Wearing mundu or no.
We all had shorts.
Thank
we,
God.
we were all called the Madras boys because we were, we were not suntanned. All my cousins used to be suntanned and they'll be running around. I could never catch up with them. So I think that film is how I grew up. Those are the values which were taught to us. Those are the songs that we sang along with our cousins. That's how except for the beer in that pot, everything else is, I think, how
Sure,
we
the
shared.
beer in the pot also.
Now it's become a trend now, and everybody is trying it out.
So, Karthi, you come from a family that is, I think, steeped in cinema. And yet, that was not your first choice. You trained to be a mechanical engineer.
Right. Any boy born in Chennai have to be either a doctor or an engineer. At least when we grew up, you have to choose one of this, or you are disgracing your family, or disgrace to your family. And my father said, your brother doesn't want to study beyond a bachelor's degree. At least you study. You make us proud. You do engineering. You do math very well. That's how they convinced me to take up engineering. And then my dad said, how many people get an opportunity to go abroad and study? This is something great. Pursue, do something more. I said, I'm liking cinema. Why can't I try it out? He says, cinema, the success rate in cinema is 1%. We're all talking about the success that we are seeing, but there is so many people who are trying and who are not able to make it there. So he said, don't keep it as your only choice. You should have your fallback. So he said, just have one fallback. So complete your degree. The moment I finished, I know this is not what I wanted to do.
But you took some film classes as well, right? In
For
New
about
York?
6 months,
Okay.
they allowed me to audit the course. So I am not a trained actor, nor am I a film student. It's all self-taught or whatever I've learned from my directors.
Mani Ratnam.
Of course.
I mean,
Of
he's a
course.
school in himself.
Absolutely.
And you came back and became an AD with
Yes,
him.
right. So I worked
Joining
with
a
him.
long, illustrious list of people who've trained under him, right? I
Yes,
think
yes,
half
yes.
the
Yeah,
directors
yeah.
in the industry and lot of people.
Most people are inspired by him.
Yeah.
Not everybody was lucky enough to be an AD like me. There are a
Who
lot of
were,
people.
who were the ADs when you were on
Sudha Kungra was
Sudha.
there, and
Yeah,
Milind
that's
was there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like? Because from to us as critics and writers on cinema, Mani is somewhat reticent. He seems a bit.
Now I need Google to figure out all the words that you're speaking now. Okay.
Chalo, that's
Okay.
that's how I struggle with
Right.
Tamil. No, but I'm sure you know. But a little reclusive and doesn't
Yes.
talk much,
Yeah.
and yet he's, he inspires such amazing loyalty in all of you.
Yes.
What is it about him that holds such, apart from, of course, his films, what is it about his working style that
I think
makes
he
you
takes his
also?
job very seriously.
Yeah.
He's not complacent. He works very hard. He expects his ADs to be working harder than him, but he's always tops us. The way he's prepared for every day is something else.
Right.
He's on spot at 6:30, and he knows exactly wants he want to do the throughout the day. He
Right.
keeps a little openness for creativity, that whatever he can pick up on the spot, but he's always prepared.
With the script.
He keeps saying, I thought maybe after 3 films I'll be relaxed on a set. But he's saying, till today I'm not relaxed.
Right.
Every day I'm always scared where I'm going to put the camera first. So that's the amount of dedication, if you want to say that, use that word, that he gives it to what he does. And he enjoys doing it. Especially with working in PS, I thought he was having the ball of his time. Every day he was cheerful because he was doing something which he wanted to do for a very long
For
time.
so long.
And he was giving us visuals, which now I've read the book before, and people have been waiting to watch that film for like 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
And the way he was creating visuals, I could see we could never imagine something like this as a reader. He was giving us something more.
And you in it, I mean, what all do you do? You leap in the air, you dance, I don't know, it's physically a very demanding
Yes,
role,
yes.
right? Talk a bit about that, because that character again is, he's like the whirlwind, no?
So one of the most charming characters. There are so many kids
Yeah.
named after Vandiyathevan.
Yeah.
And getting to play Vandiyathevan, getting to romance Kundavai is not something simple. Very, very lucky, in fact.
What a great life.
What a great life. He's the only.
And getting paid for it.
Absolutely. A good pay also. And he's the only character which interacts with everyone,
yeah.
from royalty to the commons. So after reading the book, the first thing I heard was people around me saying, you're going to play Vandiyathevan, you're going to play Vandiyathevan. First time I saw some excitement in my mom's face also. So I got scared that, each person has their own imagination of Vandiyathevan. Now, how am I going to match up to it? And how I prepared myself was, of course, the script was there. I had to read the lines, and the way Kalki had written the character, he was doing everything with him. Sometimes he'll be goofy, sometimes he'll be charming, sometimes he'll be so brave. So I didn't find a line to match him. It was very difficult. But then I understood, how am I going to behave? Somebody told me very interestingly that, why is Gandhi in the film Gandhi not behaving like an Indian? Why is he behaving like somebody who's abroad? Why is he not behaving like a Gujarati? And the question came from a very small child. And another actor told me about this incident, and really caught me that, while doing this film, I should not do any of the Hollywood stuff here. I should keep it as local as possible, as how we walk here. We are loud, we cry loud, we laugh loud. That's our culture. People shouldn't think we are, overdoing it. That is our culture. That's how we are. So I was very particular. We have to depict that.
Apologetic about.
Yes. So that's how we are.
Being
We like
open.
to sing, we like to eat, we like to, be open about
Yeah.
it. So I wanted to bring that spirit to the character. And I was also searching for what is the common man's behavior in 10th century. All Sangam literature speaks only about the royalty, but there's nowhere that we get to know about how do common people behave.
Right.
Then through research and through friends, I got a book called Sangam Polity, where an author has taken pains to write about common man incidences from Sangam literature. Here and there, he had picked up and written a lot of things. So from there, I understood that king is God. That's the amount of reverence you have to give to him. And then in commons, for example, Vandiyathevan, I was asking, so what is Vandiyathevan? I was talking to a historian. He said, Vandiyathevan is trained in all crafts. He is an IAS officer without a department. He doesn't have a kingdom.
That's a lovely.
That gave me so much clarity. So he cannot become too casual. He has royalty in his blood. So he has to have a little charm and grace to him. But he's somebody who can get along with everybody. So I had to balance that. So since the topic was how you prepare for a character,
Yeah.
I thought I should mention this, that really helps to get hold of that character. And then of course Mani sir is there.
Yeah.
The romance part, he helps me out, so I don't have to worry about it.
What are the tips he gives for the romance parts?
Yes, the lines are brilliant first.
Yeah.
Uyir ungaludaidu Devi. So that is enough to take care of it.
He has to recite it now. You have to
So,
please.
so his one-liners are fantastic.
Yeah,
You know the way.
Give us a few more, no?
Few more from that film. அழகான பெண்களுக்காக உயிரையும் கொடுக்கலாம், உங்களுக்காக நாலந்து முறை கூட கொடுக்கலாம். Imagine.
I can't understand, but I love it.
But imagine you get to say it to Aishwarya Rai.
Yeah, I mean, oof.
So all the more for a boy who grew up in boys' school and then mechanical engineering. Imagine all this happening.
Aishwarya Rai is like a goddess.
So imagine the first shot when, you know, I'm the entire film, all the characters are introduced through me.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
every introduction I saw before all you guys. So even her introduction, I was the first person who saw her opening the veil and coming out of it. And I was the first person to whistle and clap also on the sets.
I mean, sometimes when you're in these moments, when you're acting, you pinch yourself and say, God, that's me on screen, or what am I doing?
When Mani sir is there, you can't relax and dream
Yeah.
about it. You have to be on your toes, running around. That's not possible.
And she looks like a vision in this.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
the older
But
she
that
gets,
film,
the
I
more
think,
beautiful.
first time, but first time I got to work with, you know, actors from all generations in that
Yeah.
film. It was a privilege to sit and chat with them. You know, people
Right.
I've seen on screen. I'm
Yeah.
sharing screen with them and sitting and talking to them. We're working out how we are going to do the scene. Oh, it was a beautiful experience.
The after parties must have been incredible, or were they?
I think there are some Mani sir's friends here. They'd agree with me that doesn't happen so often.
No.
Like you said, no, like a physically demanding film.
Huh.
The work that could get accomplished in 4 days, Mani sir would do it in 1.5 days.
And
So if
very
you shoot for
taxing
1 day,
locations
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
no?
yeah.
Very difficult.
And we were shooting it through the COVID also. There were a lot
Yeah.
of restrictions, and we had to finish it within that day where we have the permissions. And Mani sir was particular. We have to shoot in live locations, a lot of live
Right,
locations,
right.
real palaces and forts, and getting all that was a beautiful experience. And imagine every time you have to think, you know, this is Vandiyathevan, this is Rajaraja Cholan, and this is Aditya.
Yeah.
Trying to think and bring you back to that moment 1,000 years back.
Right.
Like when we were doing scenes in Sri Lanka, there was a very interesting dialogue which didn't come in the film, but there Arulmozhi Varman is having the prince
Yeah.
is having a conversation, and he says, imagine this is the place where, you know, great men, great kings were standing, and we are standing in the same Buddha Vihara where all those people were there. And now look at this ordinary people standing here. And Vandiyathevan says, pardon me, call yourself ordinary, I am not ordinary. You know, but those are moments where you try to think and imagine that you're actually talking to the prince. You're actually talking to the greatest king when he was a prince. So it is not just reciting those lines, but trying to believe as much as possible that you are there in Sri Lanka and talking to the prince. You know, that's how you make yourself first believe it, so you can make people also believe in it. Yeah.
No, for instance, and of course, I think you have mastered the art of the breakdown, right? Even in Kaidi.
Right.
I pronounced it right?
Yes, perfect.
Yes. So even there, the climax, I mean, I don't know who mustn't have cried there, right? And even in Katre,
Yeah.
you
Karthi
have
is
that
good.
you have that scene. So in those moments when you have to break down, I wonder what goes through your mind. What do you think of, or you're just being that character?
Yeah, you can only be that character. No? Karthi cannot cry like that. You know? You have to cry like VC, or you have to cry like Dilli. You know? That's how you can do it. So
You
it's
call Varun Chakrapani VC.
Yeah. And that's also I got from research. You know, if you go,
They
like
all have
the Harry becomes Hari becomes Harry,
Harry,
or they have short names
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
That's something I picked up from Calcutta and brought it there.
Right.
So VC, but I think most of them knows as VC. They remember the girl calls him VC all throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah,
film.
yeah.
So I think that's how VC is.
Sorry, so you were saying, I interrupted you. So in that moment, you're that.
Yeah, so you can only be that character. You know, if it's the pain of that character through that life, whatever he's crossed in his life so far. Like for example, VC had a very bad childhood. His father was very abusive physically, so he's come from there. So that's how that's why his behavior is explained through that. So when he breaks down, how will he cry? a man who's put in prison, who's never got to see his daughter, and finally gets to see his daughter, and she calls him Appa. How would he feel? So it's how much you can imagine and make yourself believable in that moment. And of course, writing comes very, very important. The writer must himself have felt it and written those words, and only then it comes from us. If it is not right, then I always put my head through it and try to break it and get it right, saying, no, he wouldn't say this word. For example, he's going to see his daughter. He's never seen a child before. He's never interacted with the child. And he turns back and asks, what should I do now? Or what should I say? And he says, she will talk, you go ahead. She'll take care of it. Just go. Don't be scared. Just go. So these are words which come only when you put yourself through that moment, break yourself, and you do it. Like my first film is a very heavy film. The climax was very, very heavy. There are people who fainted in the theaters after watching that film. For that also, you have to believe yourself that something bad happened. And for me, it took 3 months to come out of it. You take it so seriously, you believe in it. For 3 months, I used to keep crying. I used to tear up, and it kept hitting me. I didn't understand why. I'm not trained. I didn't know how to handle it. And then they told me, no, you've taken it too seriously. You believed it. That is why it's hit you so badly. So we actors do that to ourselves. While you take it so seriously and you believe it so seriously, something changes inside you.
So with each part, there is something that
Keeps adding to
keeps,
you. Adding to you, yes.
But in your career, I mean, very rarely are two parts the same, right? I think there's so much variety.
Tried, yeah.
From the village boy of your first film, which I will not pronounce.
Karthi Veeran. I'll save you from that.
Thank you. To VC. You're a Madras boy, and yet you could play that. And you were talking about earlier about the tan, and the character
Village.
in your first film. You
fully
can
tanned,
see he must have spent months or years in the sun. So how did that come? And that
First film.
physicality, that physicality is also very different, right?
Thankfully, I had a very good director. He's a very good actor too. So he will enact the scene for me, and I just have to follow him. Because Madurai is not something I am familiar with. Madurai has a very different culture. Though it's in Tamil Nadu, they have a very different culture. They have a different swag to them. Madurai pasanga irukingla painga? Irukkinga. Nariya per irukkinga. Okay. So they have a different. அதை எப்படி நடிச்செல்லாம் காட்ட முடியாது என்ன நீங்க நம்மம்மா சௌக்கியமா கேட்குறோம்ல வாயை திறந்து சொல்லாம்ல. So that's a drawl that has.
Talking about swag, what was that? Japan, my God. That's that swag to the power of 100. What was going on in
That was all inspired by, like power stars here in Tamil Nadu, talking about. So, other mari, like, people who come into cinema because they have a lot of money and, they made money in some other ways. Now they can just make a film. So, it's inspired from some real life characters. So, it's like that.
Obviously, people get it because there's a lot of...
Yeah, they know it. So, Karthi Veeran, I had just come back from US. I was working in Manisa's office, which is not like Chennai. Manisa's office is very elite. And, people who work there also would have been educated abroad. So, that's how it is. Suddenly going to Madurai, trying to wear their lungi and sit on the floor. I tried to shed all the vanities and any kind of sophistication that I had gained so far. So, I stopped listening to any kind of watching English movies. I would watch 16 Vaidanle every day. 16 Vaidanle is a classic where Kamal sir and Rajini sir had acted, directed by Bharati Raja. Till today, that film is fresh. If you watch that film, till today it works. So I used to watch that film every day. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows it's a classic. I used to watch that film. Parata. So I used to watch it every day. Yeah, because Bharati Raja sir is from that region. So when he depicts his actors, he knows exactly how he wants to depict it. And so I used to watch that film every day. I used to always wear the lungi. I stopped wearing pants,
And that too half lungi, na?
Yeah, up to chest. That's the swag. And in fact, I never used to wear any footwear that we all wear. They got me a footwear made with tire. Palaya tire vachu or serupu. Nammu tire serupu sorry ellarum. So I used to wear that slippers and walk around. And the best compliment came one day when we were shooting outside the village. There were 4 guys sitting and playing cards and having a drink. They saw me and asked, "Is he the hero?" Yes. நம்ம ஊர் பாஷை சொன்னா நம்மளை விட கேவலமா இருக்கான் அப்படின்னு போனேன். இஸ் தரட்டிக்கு எப்படி சொல்றது இது எல்லாத்தையும்? I'm not able to translate and do justice to that. Okay, so he's saying he's worse than us. Okay, so that's the biggest compliment. Director said you're past. So that's how you put yourself through it. Keep thinking, this is me, this is what I am, I grew up here, this is my people, or this is my uncle, or this is the girl who's in love with me, or so you make yourself believe as much. It's a little crazy thing to do, but that's how I learned myself to work on it.
What a life. I mean, an
You live
actor's
so
life.
many lives.
Yeah, I mean, but also, as you said, a little crazy, no? I mean, you come back to a normal home, which I'm sure you have, and your kids and your
Like
wife.
I'll be sitting like this and I'm thinking, and my daughter will say, which scene is this? Which dialogue are you saying? I thought first my wife was saying, now my kids are saying.
How old are your kids?
11, 12, she's turned 12, 12 and 4.
Okay. So they know that their dad is a big star, or
I'm trying to keep them away from all that media, but they know that I go to work and I'm shooting, so they know so much. My daughter, of course, goes to school and she knows better. Yeah.
But as the son of an actor, did you grow up on a film set, or were you kept
never.
very far away?
We were chased away from any of that. My father didn't want both of us to come out to films. The first thing he said, don't even think about this. So I'm not the typical Nepo kid, you know what I mean? So he never recommended me for any film. He said, don't come here. This is not for you. You get educated, go and do something else. But some Vidhi, அது நம்மளை கூட்டிட்டு வந்துருச்சு அது உள்ள.
But why was that? Because it's a difficult life, right?
Definitely. Like I told you, the success rate is so small. He was from a very small village. He lost his father when he was 1 year old, and his widow's mother only brought him up. So he had a lot of struggle, and that's how he made it. And so he didn't want us
to struggle
to
like
be
that.
there. Yeah. But the thing. Then we came in, but I really liked it more than from childhood. I always liked talking about films, but watching films and enjoying films is different from making films. The grind is very different.
Right.
It's very, very hard hitting.
Yeah.
And we've never been to sets. The best thing that my dad did for us was he sent us in public transport. After 8th standard, he said, go by Pallavan, 12B da. So, and then for 1 or 2 years, I said 12B is too crowded, I'll take the cycle. So I went by bicycle. I think that footing is what is keeping us grounded, is what, if you may say so, that's what really helping. So we did not grow up like that. We did not have the best of clothes or the best of shoes. It made sure we had a very, very normal Chennai middle class upbringing. I really value that so much. And I want to give the same thing to my kids. Yeah.
I wonder the dinner table conversation in the Shivakumar household. What do you guys talk about?
You don't talk about films. Obviously, you don't talk about films. Yeah.
You talk about everything else.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, correct. I think the only film conversation that I remember in dining table is when we were kids. My dad used to talk about the stuff that happens in shooting spots.
Right.
Like when Shivaji and MGR were there, they had fabulous stories. That period was like 60s was golden age. Why do they say that? Because they made things you cannot imagine about. They brought heaven to earth. You could say that. The way they depicted gods and mythological films, or even the social drama, was beautifully done. So he would speak about those actors, the legends, how they would recite huge dialogues in one single shot, or how they dressed up as Murugar, or like a Vishnu, and how difficult to wear that blue paint and stand all day. They'll get dressed up in early 3 o'clock and the shot will be at 9, but they have to not move a bit and sit like that. And there was no air conditioning. These are the only stories that I remember. So nothing is encouraging, nothing is making you want to do that.
Everything is how tough it is.
Yeah.
So are you doing the same with your kids?
No, we don't talk films. They're too small also. They don't need them. They just want, my son wants to fight with me every day. He brings a sword and say, let's fight.
He thinks you're in.
No, he thinks he's stronger than me. So,
and your
that's
daughter
how it
thinks
is.
that you're
She just worries that where are you going? When will you come back? That's the only thing she'll ask. Because sometimes you go, then you're not at home. That's the toughest part. When you're out shooting for 30 days or 40 days, and then you come back home, then they really miss you. I start missing them. That's the toughest part. That's the price you pay for this life.
What is it about facial hair and Tamil men?
It looks nice.
I know, but you look pretty good in Karthi
Thank you.
also.
Okay, okay, okay,
There you have nothing on your face.
okay.
So what is it? Why do you have to hold on to that beard or mustache?
This is my first film. The title was Parathy Veeran, and I was being introduced. I was looking like a chocolate boy. I had just come from US, so nobody would say this is Parathy Veeran. So director put a very strong thing that grow a beard and become strong that you can hit 10 people. That's the only line he told me, that become strong and have a big beard. And that really worked for me. And after that, when they asked me to shave, I felt like they're asking me to take my clothes off. Beard is a big protection for me. For me also, I feel I can respect this man when I have the beard. But of course, when the character demands
Yeah.
it, then you lose it. That's all.
And of course, sometimes like in
But now I think
Kashmora,
all the boys like to have the beard. When they asked me to shave it for my wedding, I was like, oh my God, I can't. But now they're allowing all the guys to have beard in the wedding, man. I can't believe it. Everybody's having a beard in the wedding.
that's I think the Virat Kohli effect. But
Good
tell
for
me,
them.
a role like Kashmora,
Yeah.
I mean, you're really, really bulked up and all that. There's a lot of work that you have to do
Yeah,
physically as well. Lose weight, gain weight, lose muscle, gain muscle. I mean, that also must be telling on your
My brother
physicality.
does a better job at it. but but I also try to maintain myself in the sense I do have a workout every day and maintain it. I don't go too much into chemicals or anything, so it doesn't show immediately. It takes a lot of time to achieve the results. But I cover it up with the performance and the costume. I let them do their job. Kashmara, thanks for asking that, because as a film, we put a lot of effort into that film. First time I was playing a villain in the film,
And
and
very interesting looking.
yeah, the look. We spent about 40 days trying out some 20 different looks, and then we figured this look, like a tonsured head and a beard, and that's we are going to do a first look. And just before the day Katapa was released, you were like, oh my God! After figuring out, and suddenly there's a similar look there. But of course, this character was extremely funny also in that way. He's got his own streak to
And
him.
then Nayanthara.
Nayanthara was there in
I
that
mean,
film.
how many beautiful women can you have in one lifetime?
Please correct your words. I get to work with them.
What a but seriously.
Yeah, Nayanthara was beautiful in that film as a princess. She had played as a princess, and actually, she's the hero of the film. I was the villain of the film. Yeah,
Good.
and it was nice to again, it was the first period film for me where you get to wear big, huge costumes
Huge, yeah.
and I think playing a villain is really enjoyable. The good guy he's got a format. The bad guy can do anything, and I was really enjoyed playing that character.
I found it interesting that after doing such a range of roles, you're actually doing two sequels,
Yeah.
which, of course, it is because those movies were loved a
Correct.
lot.
The characters.
But
Yeah.
tell me about Sardar 2 and Kaidi 2.
Okay. You got all the updates before this, is it? Okay. So Sardar 2 is a spy thriller, and interesting
And
part.
how many disguises you had in?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Amazing.
It was inspired from the real life character who
Yeah.
was a theater actor who became a spy. Basically, they were trying to make the armed forces people to act. Then they found it very difficult, so they decided to pick up an actor and train him. So that's how that character, the Black Panther, is a very famous character. Everybody knows about him. So it was inspired from that, and we created it. So we always kept it as local as possible, like how a stage actor in Tamil Nadu would be, and what if he gets to train and become a spy. So that spy thriller also spoke about how the water business came about. If you seen the film, I think we spoke so much about the bottled water and how it came about, and how one set of people have tried not to allow. Air and water should not be sold. That is the philosophy which was existing long back. Now we are used to it. But this film, because it had a period film of 80s, it spoke about that also. Now that character became a huge hit. An old man, who's weathered in prison for 30 years, and then he gets to come out, and then he takes care of beating the bad guys up. That really worked out. So we're doing the part 2 of it. This is a prequel sequel of the prequel sequel. It got both. There's a I don't know if I may say so, but it's the one mission before what happened in Sardar 1. Kaidi 2 supposed to start this year. And again, I think Delhi, everybody loves him. They want to see him eat biryani again. And So
And
it's got a
also,
big fanfare. Yeah.
I think in the first one also you make it quite clear that he'll come back, no?
Yeah. The end of the film
The end
clearly
of the
says
film is quite clear.
something.
So you knew at that point that it's going to work,
I
or
think Lokesh, no, after shooting the climax, I told Lokesh this film will be big.
right?
Because when there is such a big arc for a character, from being so reluctant and then he becomes the hero, he saves the cops, and then he sees his daughter and then he breaks down. It's a huge emotional completion there.
Right.
Like his personal story is also very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The I talk about my wife and what happened to me before I went to prison.
Yeah.
This is a very moving part to it. So that really cemented the whole emotion content of that whole film. So I knew it will be big, but I didn't expect it to, being followed even after 5 6 years.
And a remake in Hindi,
Yeah, of course.
which
Of course.
didn't
I
do
don't want
very
to
well.
say anything.
You didn't see it.
I've not seen it. I've not seen it.
It's okay. You haven't missed much.
Okay.
So that's very interesting that these were two films that you felt you had to revisit, two characters
I think
rather.
it's come from the producer and the
Yeah.
filmmakers also. Like they have the energy to see the same character again.
Yeah.
So they thought you can spin another film with this character. It's got so much depth or layers to it that you can play with it once more.
Karthi, you're also very socially involved. I mean, lots of things that you do apart from your acting. Talk a little about that. And is that also something? I mean, Surya also does that.
Yeah,
but-
my brother has a Agaram Foundation, which
Right.
actually um, funds and educates first generation graduates.
Right.
So from very deserving people are selected. There's a very stringent selection process before they get qualified. And then they are given education depending on what they want to study. And then we also try to place them in jobs. So I think it's almost 15 years now since we started it. So it's going really well. So every year 500 kids are picked and they're completely groomed. It's not like just putting them in college.
Right.
Their progress is watched. They're trained in psychologically, and all kinds of training is given to them. So that has been happening. What my brother and a lot of volunteers do that job. And then when I did a film called Kadaikutti Singam, where I acted as a farmer, this is one particular occupation which is not been popular or recognized yet. So after that film, we wanted to do something to the farming community. We wanted to give them money. They said, "Don't give me money." But there is no one to speak about us. Will you be able to voice for us? Will you be able to be the face for us? That's what they asked me. It's a very big thing to do. But since I grew up in village and I've felt very bad after my grandfather died. The entire farm was just, nothing was there after that. We used to have like 20 cows and bulls and sheep, and people will be working. They were all gone because my uncles opened up business, so nobody to take care of it. So I always missed that. It's a huge life. Still today in India, 58% of people are employed by farming. But
Yeah.
we don't speak about it. We don't do anything about it. We don't give the basic respect also to it. So then I started a foundation called Udavan Foundation, where every year we recognize and give an awards to people who do any kind of work in farming, not just farmers, but sometimes it'll be government officials, or there'll be doctors or veterinary doctors. Whoever is contributing to farmers, we pick them and we give them a cash prize and we recognize them. Basically, my strength is you all. This is the love that I receive from you all is my strength. So I want to share that love with them. I just want to put them in limelight to say that these are the real heroes in our society. Like I went to a function where I met some people who have been working in farming for 50 years or 35 years, and I didn't know each one, none of them. They were stalwarts in that field. I didn't know any of them. And people are clapping for me. I didn't feel very good about it. I thought these people should be more popular than us. They are the people who are really working hard for us. So I thought, why not take it up? And we do that. And apart from that, we do some restoration, water body restoration work.
right.
Or now we're trying to intervene in empowering widowed women through farming. So there are very different projects which we are doing research on and working on it. So,
So
this is the two
serious work
personally.
is going on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of team people who do
Yeah.
it. So I give whatever strength.
Do you involve your fans in this as well, or
But like they are really resourceful because farming is very different. And if you take one taluk also, there'll be different soil there.
Yeah.
And you cannot apply the same thing or you cannot give the same solution to each area. So when you have to do some research work there, then the fans are there all over Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
So when we have to reach out to them, they're always there ready to help. So we don't have to send somebody from here all the way there to
Right.
check on them. I have people who can immediately go. There are brothers who can just go to that spot, check on them, and immediately report to us. So
How many fan clubs do you have?
I have no count on that.
You have
Sorry.
not counted it.
I'm not counting that. Yeah.
Right. So,
I receive a lot of love, so that is that is great. Yeah.
Karthi, everyone is talking about pan India,
Right,
pan
right.
trans world, whatever. RRR has also opened up
Yeah,
the
yeah,
world. Um, what are your plans? Do you plan to bring the world here or
See, for
go
example,
there?
Mayalagan
Yeah.
is a story which happens in a small
Small
hamlet
little-
somewhere in Tamil
yeah.
Nadu. But the entire India watched it. I think after it came on Netflix, everybody, apart from what language, I was surprised. I never thought somebody would connect with it. And
What was the most surprising response you got?
no, from everywhere, from north, from people saying, my God, I was so connecting with the characters so much. So the culture, or this is a very micro culture here,
Yeah.
but the people were able to relate with everything. So as long as you can make a honest film, trying to be as real to the characters and the emotions are something which you can connect with everybody. I think it can become pan India anytime.
Right.
Like Roja was not planned as a pan Indian
Yeah.
film, but the film became pan Indian long back. Like Indian, for example, talks about corruption, which immediately worked
Yeah.
all over India. I think as much as you're true to it, like Manjumal Boys, as much as you're so true and unique in your story and presented very well. I think Rahman sir very nicely put it, said we have to improve in how we present our stories. We have very good stories, but how we are going to present it, your performances, your cinematography and music or edit and mix, all that has to have an international standard, like how Koreans are doing it so well.
Yeah.
Once I think we also already there. It's just one or two films which will just break us and take us through.
Who are your personal gods of acting?
Gods of acting. Yeah. I think two films which were like I keep watching again, and there's one, Good Will Hunting, and then As Good as It Gets. I think these two films I watched umpteen number of
As
times.
good as it gets.
Oh, yes.
Jack Nicholson.
He's my hero. Jack Nicholson. Yeah. I mean Hollywood. Here I think like you cannot not have the influence of Kamal sir and Rajini sir, and of course Mohanlal sir I
Yeah.
really like. So like how natural can he be?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
beautiful. So
Yeah.
I get inspired from them when we do films here.
Also, what I like about some of the actors here in this part of the industry, you're all very collaborative and you all stick up for each other. You all give each other a shout out when there's a release or
Right,
whatever.
right.
It's not, I mean, you may be competitive, but you're not mean to each other, or, you're
Yeah.
pretty collaborative.
With
It's
friends,
an
I mean,
unusual thing.
it's with friends. You when you get to work with somebody, you get to know them, then you become friends. Then you always want to wish them. But there are other people in the industry whom you've never met before. I'm not. I wouldn't say I would go and wish for that film or do. But when you are friends with someone, let me be honest. When we have friends in the industry, when you know each other and the film is coming out, then naturally you want to give a shout out and wish.
Who
good
are your
for the film.
buddies in the industry?
Like PS, I think Ravi, last 2.5 years, been very close. Vishal, because I'm working with the Actor Association, been
Right.
very close. So then we talk on day-to-day basis regularly. Like, but otherwise, in Arya or Sibi, all is from childhood. I know, like Naren. So all these we all get along.
What about?
But I'm talking about only younger people. But
Yeah.
when Nazar sir, I talk to him every day, and then like Kovai Sarla ma'am, or all the like Pasupati sir, we all keep talking.
Right. So I'm not going to monopolize you.
Okay.
Just a few questions from the audience I think we should take.
Sure.
Uh,
They're all tired already. You sure you want to have questions? Yes, sir. Director.
Hi, sir.
இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் கத்துக்கிட்டு பண்றேன் சார். Thank you, sir. Yes.
Hi, sir.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
what is the homework?
Okay.
What the student has to do the homework. So has to they come up in their life. Obviously,
life
when you-
ஆ,
இல்ல,
cinema
இல்ல,
வா,
நீங்க
இல்ல.
சினிமால எவ்வளவு homework பண்ணிட்டு தானே வர்றீங்கன்னு இவ்வளவு
Yeah,
நேரம்
yeah,
சொல்லிட்டு
yeah,
இருக்கீங்க.
yeah.
But I want my students to listen.
Okay.
What are the homework that they have to do for their future in
அட்வைஸ்
the
பண்ணா கடுப்பாயிருவாங்க.
இல்ல இல்ல ஒரு 2 வரி சொல்லுங்க. நீங்க என்னெல்லாம் homework பண்றீங்களோ அத கொஞ்சம்
எங்க
சொல்லிடுங்க.
அப்பனே ஓவரா பண்றான், நீ வேற பண்ற.
So, make 2 sentences.
சார் எனக்கு அரசியல் சுத்தமா தெரியாது சார், மன்னிச்சுக்கங்க. யா
Hi sir, myself Indu.
Yeah.
I like you in Parthiviran. I fall for in Paya.
Okay.
From that, now we have different type of scripts. The graph was not a straight line; it was up and down, up and down. Don't you have self doubt? How you overcome your self doubts, and what motivates you choose different types of scripts?
I'm not a businessman, man. Businessman தான்
Sir,
டெய்லி
but
எவ்வளோ
your
கலெக்ஷன்
scripts
வந்துச்சுன்னு
are
யோசிச்சுட்டே இருப்பான்.
amazing, sir.
Okay.
It's not same line, same story. It was so you have so diversity of things. Don't you have self doubt? I can do this. What happened to the film? Don't you have the self doubts?
கண்டிப்பா பயம் இருக்கும். பயம் இல்லாம இல்ல. ஆனா
I want to know
எது
how
உங்களை
you
ரொம்ப
overcome it.
பயமுறுத்துதோ அதில் இறங்கிடணும். Because if you're always in a safe zone, you're not going to turn heads and look at you. நீங்க ரொம்ப சேஃபா போயிட்டே இருந்தீங்கன்னா ஒரே லெவலில் தான் போயிட்டு இருக்க முடியும். ஏதாவது they say, you know, when is it risky, you know, when you think you can lose everything, that's risky. So you have a calculated risk எடுத்து வேற ட்ரை பண்ணால் தான் நல்லா பண்ண முடியும். But like I said, I'm not a businessman who is very particular about my film should open like this and should collect like this. I didn't get into it somehow. For me, the excitement is hearing a nice story, getting to play a very good character, and how honestly can I present it. And I don't want to repeat myself also. I try and not repeat myself. So that's how I can be excited. நான் ஐடியில் ஒர்க் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். எவ்ரிடே ப்ரோக்ராம் எழுதுனா என்னன்னு எனக்கு தெரியும். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி நானும் சினிமாவில் ஒரே மாதிரி பண்ணேன்னு எனக்கும் போர் அடிச்சு. ஸோ தட்ஸ் த ஹோல் திங். நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி once you figure out what is it that you like to do, you should really enjoy doing it. I think that is most critical. அது பண்ணிட்டா it might take some time. For some people you will make a break in 2 years. For some people it might take 8 years. But once you enjoy doing whatever you're doing, then you want to give your best. நான் இன்ஜினியரிங் படிக்கும்போது பாஸ் ஆனால் போதும்னு நினைப்பேன். கசன்ட்டு அப்படி ஐயோ சாரி இல்லை, ஆல்வேஸ் ஃபெல்ட் I just wanted to pass. But once I started doing what I like, I always aim for 100 or aim for 100. I might fail, but my preparation is for 100. I never prepared for 35, 45 prepare பண்ணல. So I think that's main thing. Advice எல்லாம் பண்ணல நான்.
He's a big fan.
ஆமாங்க.
இப்போ இருக்கிற யூத் எல்லாம் நடிக்கலான்றீங்களா? ஃபிலிம் இண்டஸ்ட்ரிக்கு வரலாமா? வாட் இஸ் யுவர் சஜஷன்?
அவங்க இஷ்டம் சார். அது அவங்க இஷ்டம். அவங்க இஷ்டம். See, இது வந்து this is not, I wouldn't call it's an industry இல்லையா? இண்டஸ்ட்ரினா இங்க ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் இருக்கும். அப்படி கிடையாது. இது வந்து யார் வேணா வந்து இங்க சினிமா எடுக்கலாம். இட்ஸ் ஆர்ட். Anybody who has money, anybody who has creativity, anybody who can write, யார் வேணா இங்க படம் எடுக்கலாம். உங்களை யாரும் இங்க ஸ்டாப் பண்ண போறதே கிடையாது. ஸோ அது வந்து ஒரு ஆர்ட் ஃபார்ம். ஒரு பெயிண்டிங் பண்ணுறதுக்கு யாருன்னா என்ன ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்ஷன் இருக்கீங்க? உங்களுக்கு பெயிண்ட்டும் ஒரு பேப்பரும் இருந்தால் போதும். அது மாதிரி சினிமாவு அவ்வளோ சிம்பிளில் கொஞ்சம் செலவு ஜாஸ்தி ஆகும். Absolutely. So it's all your creativity and how much money you have. A lot of money you need. Yeah. Yeah. If you want big actors. Yes.
சார், அந்த மெய்யழகன்ல வந்து ஒரு பாட்டு பாடியிருந்தீங்கல்ல, நீங்களும் அரவிந்த் சாமியும்.
ஆமா.
அது ஒரே டைம் பாடுங்க சார். நான் ஒரு 100 டைம் அதை பார்த்துட்டு அதை. இந்தமான் சார்.
இந்தமான்.
சார்.
ஏன்
சார்.
பொன்மணி மேகலையாடுதே, உன் விழிதானிடம் தேடுதே, பெண்ணுடல் பார்த்ததும் நாணுதே, இன்பத்தில் வேதனையானதே, என்னத்தான் என்னத்தான் உன்னை எண்ணித்தான் ஊடல் பின்னத்தான் வேதனை பின்னத்தான் சொல்லித்தான் நெஞ்சை கிள்ளித்தான் உந்தன் சொர்க்கத்தில் தேவனும் சோதித்தான் மோகந்தான் சிந்தும் தேகம்தான் ராகத்தில் நான் நிற்க ஆனந்தம்தான் இந்த மான். Thank you for indulging me. Thank you.
That is just
Yes.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Sir, you're very good at singing, by the way.
Thank you.
So I have a question. I hope you're familiar with the movie The Joker played by Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
So he gets locked into the character,
Yeah.
and the world lost a very good actor. He died. Unfortunately, he died due to suicide. So I'm sure you've played a lot of characters like that. Not familiar to that, but like that. So what's the process you go through to overcome your depression or your sad phase after you play characters like this?
Thank you for asking, because like I told you, after my first film, almost like a post-traumatic stress. Almost 3 years, 3 months, I would say 3 months. I would lie down in the bed and I'll be crying and be tears rolling down my eyes, because I don't know if you know the climax of that film. The the girl I'm in love with gets gang raped in that film. So after enacting that, and I couldn't even imagine something like, now it's, you can see it in news, but that nobody can fathom something like that happening to somebody so close to you. And when you try to believe it, it hits you very hard. So for 3 months I used to be like that, and I didn't know how to come out of it. I was suffering. I didn't know what was happening to me. Then when I was doing my second film, Ayarathil Orvan, Selvaraghavan was the director of the film. So he would see me going through that for this character also. I'd be going and sitting alone, looking outside. I won't talk to anyone. I'll be in the character, thinking like that. Then he called me one day and said, "What are you trying to do?" No, no, I'm just trying to be in that character. I said, "Don't get into it. It will definitely affect you psychologically. Train yourself to come into the mood just before the shot. And the moment I say cut, come out of it. You have to be in that character only during that part. If you try to carry it on, it will screw up your personal life." That's the best advice he gave me, like in my second film. Yeah. And we shot that film for 3 years. So if I'd started going into that character, so that really helped me to, prepare myself to come out of it. Okay, this is over. But I felt that I'm not doing justice if I'm not giving that 100%. I would feel like in front of camera, you have to be 110% if there's something like that. Otherwise, you cannot make it so true or make it honest. So then when you're putting yourself through it and making it believe, it's so important that you come out of it, stop thinking about it. It is practice. It takes time. But once you get that, then you're better. Like he used to tell me that, like Kamal sir would be laughing and we'll all be talking. And then the moment they say action, he'll switch. It's humanly possible. You just have to train yourself, and that's the only way you can be sane. Otherwise, then, like you said, you get too deep into it, it definitely affects you. Definitely affects you. Yes. Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. You have a nice voice. I can hear you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
My name is Sarang, by the way.
Yes, sir.
We have all heard that most of the comedians in Indian cinema, not just in Collywood, they actually have a very disappointing, depressing personal life. First of all, is it true? I mean, this is
இல்ல,
just...
நீங்க சார்லி சாப்ளின்ல இருந்து கேட்டா நிறைய
No, no,
இருக்கு.
I said Indian cinema.
Okay.
Forget Charlie Chaplin,
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Beans, whomsoever. I'm talking about people like Nagesh,
Okay.
Tengai Srinivasan, Suruli Rajan. Even the Vivek, for example, he's my favorite.
Yeah.
Chinna Kalema.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's the best
Really
of...
miss him so much. Really miss him.
Absolutely, I miss him like mad. When I see photos of him along with Manorama, Achi, I mean, sometimes I've cried.
Yeah.
I see those videos on YouTube and all that stuff. First of all, is it true? Is it a misconception?
See,
But I think there's no smoke without fire.
Okay.
So there must be a lot happening. If you could just enlighten us on a bit on that. Because you're in that industry, I'm sure you'll be able to enlighten us much better than...
I think actors' life as such, you cannot say everybody is having the... Like any person, like any you, me, or anybody, you have always your other side in life, But for actors or any creative people, like how they say, poets or artists, they derive a lot from their pain. When they perform, they derive a lot from their pain and do it. But the legends that you're talking about, they're all from theater. Even for us, you might have a very bad day in life. You might have a very bad day in life, but in front of camera, you cannot show that. You are a different person. So we always try to hide it and bring out of it. But comedians, I think they are fantastic. How they can make anybody laugh the moment they come inside like that. Yeah. But all of them, they have done it for a very long time. Even Santanam has done TV shows for such a long time. So it's a rhythm within them. The way they can crack jokes or they come back with the one-liners, it's a rhythm that you develop over so many years. Yes. And also a flair. Humor is also a flair, It's also a flair, yeah. But like you said, most of them their personal lives have been very, very sad. Sorry? Of course. Directors, of course. Keeping them as light as possible, including them and... Okay. Pick it up, yes. Yeah. இப்போ நீங்கள் வடிவேலு சார் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, வடிவேலு சார் இஸ் grow up in மதுரை. அவர் படத்தில் பண்ணுற எல்லா கேரக்டரும், the characters that he play in screen are all characters he's seen in real life. they have spent so much time in real life with common people, with normal people. Like Boman Irani said, he was working in an STD booth for a very long time. If you know what is an STD booth, but namakala theriyadu. So illa pasangala solren. So there you get to see different kinds of people every day, and you pick up something from each one of them. Now, there's so much you can actually pick up. Like next time when I play, I will pick up some of your
Not my Tamil pronunciation,
illa illa.
please. I think it's been just wonderful. Thank you so much. You made us laugh, sing. You sang for us.
Yes, sir.
One last question.
அப்படின்னா காமன் மேனா நிறைய முயற்சி பண்ணி தான் ஒவ்வொரு படமும் டேர்னிங் பாயிண்ட் அமையும்னு பருத்தி வீரன்லேருந்து பயணிச்சிருப்பீங்க. நிறைய டேரக்டரும் அதை பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அப்படி இல்லாமல் இருந்தால் கார்த்தி என்னவா இருந்திருப்பாரு, இல்லை கார்த்தி ஆக்டர்ன்றவர் என்னவா இருக்க ஆசைப்படுறாரு?
பயமுறுத்தாதீங்க அப்படிலாம் கேட்டு. இட்ஸ் a very scary question. நான் காமன் மேன் தான் சார். ரைட் சார், ரைட் சார். What I would have been if I had not made it, I would have still been trying for sure. முயற்சி பண்ணிட்டு விடுறதா இல்லை, இன்னும் முயற்சி எனக்கு கண்டிப்பாக சோறு போட்டுருவாங்க வீட்டில். See, a lot of people who would chase their dreams, you know, they don't have support from family, or they're not, lucky enough to have family who can help them. I've known my director friends or other actor friends who made it. They had a very supportive wife who was working and let them chase their dreams. அப்படி ஏதாவது ஒரு சப்போர்ட் ஏதாவது இருந்திருக்கும். என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் எனக்கு கிடைச்சிரும். So probably I would have been not married and still trying to make a break, or still trying to write a script and trying to make a film, because cinema is something where I wanted to be. So probably I'll be here trying to figure out something. I was a designer also, so I'll be probably designing some posters also for some films and making a living. கத்துக்கிட்டே இருக்கேங்க, கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா கத்துக்கிட்டு ஃபுல்லா தலை காலியா இருக்க அப்புறமா பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
Thank you so much. I think
thank you
we
for
should have a big
being
round
so
of
patient.
applause.
Thank you, love you,
Thank you.